All right. Can you
All right, we're
hear me?
back. Yes, perfect.
Okay, good. I've got them in.
You're what?
I've got them in. You can't
Okay,
see them, but they're
got it.
there.
Sounds good. Welcome to the orbit. Thanks for coming on. Uh,
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This is just a podcast and video series. I don't know if you saw any of them, but they're
Yeah, I checked a couple out.
great. So you probably get the idea. I just want to pick your brain for maybe half an hour and hear about the things that you're working on. You're in Texas right now?
Yeah, I'm in Texas right now. I go like kind of in between Texas and New York, since my work is remote. I have a lot of friends in New York, but Texas is like my home.
Got it.
Yeah.
And what kind of work are you doing?
Right now, I'm working on a few tech presentations, doing illustrations for slides. I think there are a lot of conferences in the summer, so I've gotten a lot of requests for that recently. I'm also working on a little picture book. It's not like with a publisher, but for a family that wants to make a cute gift for a family friend. It's about a dog that goes on adventures, so that's
Nice.
really exciting. Um, and I'm also doing a few couple portraits, which is kind of a year-round thing for me now.
Got it. So you're mainly an illustrator, and it seems like you do as many different kinds of things as possible.
Yeah, I'm open to pretty much anything people ask me to do as long as they know kind of what my style looks like and that cute stuff will go along with what they're looking for.
Cool. And is that your full-time gig?
No, I'm also a part-time stylist for Stitch Fix, so
Okay.
that's kind of my life, or I lost you.
Yeah, I think we dipped out for a bit, but I got
You see me?
the stitch fix to here. Yes,
Okay, sorry about that.
all good. So how did you get into illustration? How long have you been doing that side?
Um, it's probably been about 3 years now. I've been doing art pretty much my whole life. It wasn't something that I was encouraged to do in college because I needed to get like a more, uh, I guess, like dependable degree according to my
Right.
family, which I understand. I did minor in art at school. I studied watercolor as a minor. And then after I graduated, I was doing it mostly for fun. And then through a lot of networking on Twitter, I met people that wanted me to do avatars. And then I started making more friends in tech and kind of getting familiar with the lack of cute, kind of like fun illustrative things in that part of business. So I am starting to, I guess, fill a void there. And then avatars kind of evolved into like doing more family portraits and really just, it's honestly just word of mouth on Twitter that has kept the work coming in, which is crazy, but I'm super
Yeah.
grateful for it. Yeah, it's really weird when I tell people that. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah, I just tweet a lot and people are really supportive of artists there. And I've had a lot of friends like help get the word out. So now it's expanded to people beyond just like my friends and family, which kind of is where it started. It's really cool.
Do do you feel like you're in the upswing of blowing up?
Uh, yeah, I think it's a really, really slow upswing, but I definitely see
Uh,
now that it's been several years that like it seems to be moving in a good direction because for a long time until maybe just the last couple months, it felt kind of scary. Like you just never know if 1 month no one's going to want to work with you at all. And I feel like now I can kind of count on a few people wanting to work with me. And if I put out a call for like work, that people will answer it. I feel more confident about that now.
how were you initially? You said you were networking on Twitter. What was that
Yeah.
like initially?
Well, I hate networking. I studied marketing, but I have a lot of trouble kind of with the feeling of like disingenuous networking, like just trying to get something out of people or getting people to work with you. And so, like, I learned in business school that you shouldn't be like totally yourself on Twitter because like it's not necessarily professional. I kind of just didn't listen and
Yeah.
was myself. I did a lot of my art is like kind of autobiographical, I guess, about like my own feelings. At least that's where it started. And so people liked that, and then they liked my style. And as an extension of that, I can just do whatever they want me to do. It doesn't have to be about me anymore. But I feel like by being myself on Twitter, people are like, oh, she's genuine. She shares her feelings. I like this. This is someone I want to work with. And I've just been rolling with that ever since.
Cool. Yeah, it seems like
Yeah.
being yourself really pays off across the board. People want genuine.
Yeah, I feel like that business school advice was maybe a little outdated, but
Uh,
that also makes sense because social media is pretty new, and so not everyone knows, or like it's definitely not in textbooks, kind of the way you should be acting to sell your brand now that we have all these different ways of advertising.
what do you think your first like big client was?
Mm, so it's been a lot of my clients are still largely like personal, just like a random person emailing me. I've had a couple people share my work that they weren't necessarily my client, but like when the hurricane hit Texas
Mm,
about 2 years ago, Tumblr used my image as like their, I guess, like advertising image for ways you can support people after the storm and like cleaning up and donations. And my image was like the header for that post of Tumblr, like as a company on their Tumblr blog. I thought that was awesome.
yeah.
And as far as clients go, like I did do a dog portrait for a guy who knew Ingrid Michaelson, the singer, and it was like of her dog. So that was kind of cool. New York is like a really small world, so I don't even know exactly all the people I've drawn for, probably. Some people will ask me to draw for them or for their friend, and then I like send it over, and then later I see that their friend has like, I don't know, 200,000 followers, which is like famous to me,
Right.
Twitter-wise.
Is
So
the
yeah, I guess you just never know who you're drawing for sometimes. You gotta always do your best because you don't know where it's gonna end up.
true? The internet's a copying machine.
Yeah.
Um, as far is the work pretty consistent?
These days it is. A lot of how it got started, or at least how things kind of started moving faster, is about 2 summers ago. I made a joke saying I would draw your dog for like $1, and I had like a really fast, like 2 second drawing of a bulldog, and then people were like, "Will you do it?" And I was like, "Sure." And then like 50 people asked that. I was like, okay, I can't do this. I'm gonna need to raise the price to like $5 at least. And then what happened was Darth on Twitter retweeted that. Darth is like pretty well known, and well known specifically for tweeting pictures of dogs, or like content about dogs. So that made a whole bunch of new eyes see it. And I kept getting requests for dog portraits and also cats. Um, and I eventually just kept raising the price on those. And then as people worked with me with the pet portraits, more people found me and asked me for other things. But that is like a defining moment in which it became way more consistent. Before it was just like maybe a couple things a month. And from that point on, it's probably been at least 10 a month. But like around Christmas time or Valentine's Day, between the pets and people wanting like family and couple portraits, it can be crazy. It can be like 35 portraits in a week or two
Yeah.
around Christmas. And my family's like trying to enjoy Christmas with me. And I'm like, sorry, I'm drawing everyone else right now.
What tools are you using to make your commissions, or what mediums?
Yeah, so I use Procreate exclusively right now. Um, I've used it for about 2 years, and that really changed things for me because I didn't learn how to use Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop or anything in school. And so digital drawing was really scary for me. And I studied watercolor and I do love it, but it definitely is way more time consuming. So basically, when the iPad Pro came out and like the pencil became available, that's when I started drawing digitally, and it was so easy to pick up. So that's what I'm working with now. But depending on what I'm doing, I will still try to keep it feeling like kind of sketchbooky or watercolory. I still do a lot of sky paintings, and those are digital, but they have more of a pastel or watercolor look, which I'd like to keep. I would like it to have kind of that more like authentic feeling.
Hmm.
In general, most of the work I do is like a little bit loose and like painterly. I'm not really good. Like, I'm not a graphic designer for sure because like straight lines
Right.
and like perfect angles are like just not something that I like to see it, but I can't do it. So it kind of works in my favor that I have like a watercolor background and I can transfer that over digitally.
Right. It shows. Your colors are very like they feel watercolory.
Thank you. That's really good. I love to hear
Yeah, I'm glad. Your style too is pretty distinct because I think it's first and foremost extremely cute.
that. Thank you. That's what
Like,
I'm going for.
yeah. Well, how did you come into your style? Were there people that you were inspired by, or is this something you found?
um, I draw myself a lot. That's where it started. I I never did figure or like portrait drawing when I was studying art in school either. Somehow I missed that. So I got a little bit of the foundation in terms of like I got a little bit of it in like drawing the face and like having things symmetrical and knowing where to put a nose, but I don't like that. It makes me anxious. Like drawing hands is really tricky, and I'm pretty sure most people would agree.
Yeah.
So I guess somewhere along the line when I just like decided I was gonna start drawing myself or other people, I just left the hands out entirely, left the noses out entirely. Eyebrows are something I've recently started doing this last year, because as I've done more portraits, I've realized, depending on certain like faces and hairstyles, it looks kind of weird without eyebrows. Or like doing like I draw myself a lot. I wasn't really drawing like guys at all, and now that I'm drawing families with like guys with facial hair in them, I'm like, this looks kind of weird if I don't put eyebrows like next to this full beard. So I'm getting pretty good at eyebrows now. But I never studied kind of like any cartooning style or had a specific inspiration. I guess I just like kept things easy, kind of subconsciously knowing what I don't like to draw
Right.
and rolled with it. And then of course I really like pastel colors, so between the way I draw and like the colors I use, it ends up looking pretty cute.
Do you, because of the like cute aspect, you talked about how the internet almost needs what you're making.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, certain parts of the internet definitely could use more cute. It's pretty well received. Like if you put something that I drew on Tumblr, like a lot of people on Tumblr are gonna like it because that's kind of the crowd that's there. A lot of the work I do for tech, there's maybe a handful of people that are recognized for like using pastel hardware with their computers or like drawing things in a cute style and being successful with it when you're in an industry that's like largely white males, and
Right.
like this idea that everything needs to be like cool and technical, and that can't also be like silly or pink. Like Amy Sailor Mercury or Sailor HG on Twitter,
Yeah.
she's pretty much everyone's seen her work now. She's amazing. We're pretty good friends as well. And I love what she's doing. And I'm trying to kind of be in that space too, where people can see that you can be smart and cool and in tech and also be wearing pink and have cute stuff all over your laptop.
Yeah. I think that's currently very cool because so
Yeah,
much of that is happening.
I think it's getting bigger. Like, I feel like there's more of an understanding that that's something that a lot of people want and that it's okay. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I mean, if everything just ended up being pink and there were like pink laptops and like that was totally fine in an office space, I would be so excited about that because it's still kind of weird sometimes, like walking in and people being like, "You wear pink a lot." I'm like, yeah, it doesn't it
Yeah.
doesn't say anything about my like skill. I've worked in like corporate offices in the past and I definitely stood out for liking cute things.
Hmm.
So even though I work alone now, I've definitely experienced that vibe of like, oh, we're not going to take that person seriously because they're dressed very eccentrically and like love pastel colors and are decorating their cubicle with like cute stickers.
Yeah.
I,
I feel like I see so much progress in that direction of just it being more
yeah,
normal.
it's really exciting to me because I feel like it just kind of started right when I graduated. I mean, I don't know, I wasn't really super in the workforce before I graduated, obviously, but having done some like corporate intern jobs, I just felt like really scared that it was always going to be that you would have to wear like a collared shirt and that I could never like fully express my artsy side. And I feel like especially in New York, that's pretty common now, which makes me feel a lot better, like especially in the interview process or just
Yeah.
like seeing what opportunities are out there, knowing that I can walk in wearing what I usually wear and it's probably going to be fine.
For tech specifically, how did
Mhm.
you get into that circle? It seems like you're doing a lot of work for, like, I
Yeah.
think I saw a glitch. You
Yeah.
did an illustration. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's all Twitter also.
Wow.
I have learned basic JavaScript and CSS and HTML, but I'm definitely not a software engineer, and I'm not completely crossing it out like on a list of things that I could do, but I had a lot of trouble with like math and science in school, so I'm still kind of overcoming some of that fear of like technical work. And taking that coding class that I took last summer to learn JavaScript was really hard. It's like it's literally learning a new language. So I would need definitely need more time with it before I feel like I could call myself like super tech literate.
Right.
But how I got into it was basically back in college. I was dating someone who was studying software engineering at the time, and he kind of showed me a few accounts that he thought was cool. Jen Schiffer is one of them. Um, she's not only super smart and one of the big people at Glitch, but she's also extremely hilarious. So even though I didn't know any tech stuff, I followed her a long time ago. I remember like being in my apartment in Austin, like, man, she's so cool and she likes basketball too, and she's working at the NBA at the time. And I just kind of pick and chose the few cool women in tech that I thought were like interesting. Then when I came to New York, I started meeting more and more of those people in person. And still dating that person at the time. He introduced me to things like tech meetups, like Brooklyn JS is a big one. And they are super inclusive and accepting of people that don't necessarily code as like guests or even as speakers. So I was really interested in meeting that group of people and seeing that not everyone is like, I feel like sometimes, depending on what corner of the internet you're on, it can feel really scary. Like tech is only like mean people who don't accept anyone who's different. And it's like old guys that think they know what's up and like they won't let anyone new in. And then I found this crowd of people in New York that was not like that at all. And we became personal friends. And it just kind of followed from there. Like working with them opened up opportunities in that specific area. And then I realized, like, oh, everyone likes cute stuff, but this is maybe a spot where
It's in
it's
high
needed
demand.
a little
Yeah.
bit more. Yeah. And so I'm excited that I kind of like weaseled my way in, but it is very funny. Like people often ask how I got there, and it's truly just Twitter and like a little bit of the magic of New York and how easy it is to meet people there.
That's awesome. It seems like
Yeah.
you're networking really well in all walks. I think the way
Yeah,
I
that's the ironic part of it. Like I always had it in my head like Oh, I hate networking. It's so like weird and artificial feeling. And then like a couple years into knowing people in New York and kind of wandering around those groups, I was like, oh, I guess I've been networking. It wasn't that bad.
Uh, Tell me about your recent Marie Kondo
Yeah,
connect.
that was wild. Because I drew that piece a couple weeks before she posted it. Maybe like not even a couple weeks, like 6 weeks.
And what
So
was it again?
it was, I had just started folding my shirts the way that she recommends folding them. So it was just like a pink picture of me and then like a stack of shirts that are folded and the way that she folds them so that they stand up. And I think it literally says like folding shirts, yeah, or something like that. Like it's not that deep, but it's cute and it's pink. And I tagged her in it when I posted it originally on my account. And she did like it, which I was like, cool. Like, didn't expect anything else after that. And then one day I woke up and saw that she had shared it. And it took me a while to figure that out because a lot of people followed me after that. So I was like scrolling through all these random names trying to figure out what happened while I was
Yeah.
sleeping. But yeah, that was so cool. And she was so nice. And like, I said thanks and she commented back. And then my friends jumped on there like, yeah, Emily. And she like commented them with hearts too. And I was just like, she's amazing.
That's so
It
cool.
was it was really cool and it's really helpful. Like anything like that that brings just like you never know if it's going to end up with people following you or like a lot of people will follow you and then half of them will leave because they're like no longer interested.
Hmm.
But everything like that happens is like really helpful because even if it just brings in like two or three people that want to work with me, I don't know who those people are and I wouldn't have found them before. So it was really cool.
Yeah.
She's so cool. She's so nice.
I think I found you initially just because Johnny's son follows you.
Oh yeah, Johnny.
And on like you know how you can see what other people are liking in your Twitter
Yeah.
timeline? It was
Yeah.
he liked one of your tweets and I just clicked and then I saw like your illustration and also for some reason your karaoke stuff.
Yeah, I'm a mixed bag. Johnny's great. That makes me feel cool that like someone found me by association through him. We met at a party once, and we were both at a bar, not really like super feeling like being social or loud. And I had brought my iPad, and it was at the time he was working on his book. So I was drawing on my iPad, which at that time was pretty new. Like a lot of people hadn't used the new like Pro or the pencil.
Hmm.
So I showed it to him and he was drawing on my iPad a little bit and that's how we met. It was a very wholesome experience.
That sounds
He's great.
amazing.
We're kind of like on the same wavelength too, I think, with like doing art that is cute and simple and earnest.
I agree. I think
I'm
that's a
I'm
whole genre of
yeah,
internet.
yeah, and I feel really lucky to have found a lot of those people online and like even luckier to have been able to meet them. It's good. We need more earnestness. I think we always do.
With like just because I'm curious, when you
Mhm.
met Johnny at a party, had he already been famous?
I mean, he must have been because I was following his personality online has shifted as well. Where like before, I guess maybe he would have been considered part of weird Twitter.
Hmm.
He was like one of those first people doing like interesting patterns of like speech and misspellings. And I feel like that's what originally got him a lot of followers. And since then, I feel like he's pivoted more into like showing a little bit more of his own personal beliefs and like no one knew what he looked like for a long
Right.
time and now we do. But that was just kind of right around the time that that I had met him at the party. So I guess he was pretty famous. I don't even know for sure that I had been following him, but I
Uh-huh.
definitely recognized his drawings and had heard the name before. And then when I met him at a party, I was like, oh yeah, for sure we'll follow each other because he's really nice. And like also I will fight for him if anyone's mean on the internet because it's Twitter's just a crazy
Right.
place, and sometimes I see people like misspelling stuff to make fun of his brand. Like earnestness is like something to make fun of, and I'm just like, no, back up,
Yeah.
hold me back. I don't like that.
Wholesome Twitter.
And people forget that like even if you are doing an online persona, it's still a real person typing the tweets, and you've never met them, so like just be nice. It's not that hard.
Speaking of like interesting spelling things,
Hmm.
I am
Yeah.
curious about your Hoyt Schmidt like thing.
Wait, Shmimru.
Yeah, so I see it, and because it's a recurring joke, I love it. But what is it?
So Hoyt Schmimru, or that's how I say it, but I think the way you say it is Hoyt Skimmerhorn. It's a subway stop in New York, and it's also where a famous Michael Jackson video was recorded. I've learned this over the last year. Basically, it's just a stop that has a really funny name, and it doesn't seem like anyone knows how to say it correctly. I don't, I honestly couldn't tell you why I started tweeting about it. Um, like it's kind of hard to remember how to say it or how to spell it. So I probably just smashed the keyboard the first time and then just decided I would make it a thing where I just take song lyrics and put it in. And I really didn't think people would like it, or like I thought maybe three people would that like live in New York, but I have people like telling me that they live in like Wisconsin and they're like, I don't understand this, but I'm really into it. And so I just keep it going. It's really fun. And like there are so many things that you can there are so many songs, and Hoyt works really well in in place of the words hot and heart. So there's a whole thing, and I'm just gonna keep doing it forever.
Good. I saw that you also ended up at XOXO Fast.
I did.
How was that? And
It
how
was
did you
fun.
get into there?
It was I entered the lottery.
Uh-huh.
I had never been to a conference before, which is kind of I was like the odd one out on that because a lot of my friends are in tech. So they've been to like tons of conferences or like have to go to them for work. So I really wanted to go because I feel like not a lot of conferences would be applicable to me, but because I do a lot of art stuff for tech people or like with tech people, it seemed like it would be something fun and the lineup was cool. So I entered the lottery, I made it. And it was also my first time in Portland, so that was like an additional bonus. It was really fun. I understand that this year, or the year that I went last year, was the largest by far. So the venue was holding, I think, like 2,500 people. I might be wrong, but
Hmm.
like in any case, it was the biggest group that they've had. So there were definitely people there that I knew were there that I didn't even see. And I felt kind of bad about that. But overall, like the lineup they had, the panel that Jen did on art and tech, there were a lot of cool people, and it was definitely like a diverse bunch. I saw a lot of people that I either hadn't met before or that I had met once, maybe like a couple years ago, and finally saw them again. So that was a really cool vibe, like being outside and like listening, having listened to all these cool people talk, and then see these people that I know that like admittedly are also really cool. Like
Yeah.
Amy is walking around. I'm just everyone there is just like so cool. And then people coming up to me like, "Hey, are you Emily? Do you do art?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, my boyfriend was next to me like, you're famous." So it's like, no. I mean, granted, like I'm wearing pink and have really curly hair, and it's pretty easy to like
To like pick
point me
out.
out if you've seen a photo or two of me. But yeah, it's really nice. Like Portland was cool and everyone there was really like sweet, and just like pretty much all of the internet that I would want to be around just put into a
One
big like
place.
stadium space, which never really happens except for that. So it was a cool experience.
I'm glad. And I think you are a
Yeah.
little bit famous.
I feel like maybe I'm getting there. I don't know if famous is the right word. Maybe easily recognizable.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I don't know if that's because of the work I've done or because people just recognize my face and I live in a city where I'm likely to see people that might know me from the internet. But in any case, I'm really thankful that people recognize me for whatever reason, even if it's just the Hoyt
Yeah.
Schmidt, like whatever works. I mean, it's cool. I definitely could not have seen myself in this position like 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
Career-wise, do you know where you're headed or what you hope to be doing?
Gosh, I wish I did. Um, that's always been a thing for me. When I left school, I had my degree and that was cool, but I also had like an existential crisis and I've kind of been writing it ever since. I will say it's been working out well. Like I never thought that I'd start doing art in kind of a professional and regular context like I am now. And I think I always will. Um, Professionally, I'd love to find a place where I can have a little more stability, at least for now, because the art's going well, but it's not like I could do it full time right now. And that's
Hmm.
the case with a lot of illustrators and artists, even professionally trained ones. So I'm not upset about that. I just know that right now it's not realistic. It'd be really cool to find kind of a mix of marketing, which is what I studied, and art, or like a smaller company which like encourages me to illustrate or continue my art endeavors and career, but also kind of have like a stable, creative, business minded thing going on too. That's at least my short term goal. At the end of like 10 or 20 years, if I could be full time freelance or maybe get more into illustrating books or like having some kind of regular comic or something that I'm doing, that would be really exciting. And it doesn't feel impossible like I would have thought it was a few years ago. So that's exciting to me, but I know that I have to be patient.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like you're doing all the right things, and I'm rooting for you. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
I like yeah, I just really feel lucky every day because I definitely felt like I didn't know what I was doing at all when I graduated, and to see things kind of shape up okay for just like being myself and putting stuff out there has been really encouraging.
Cool. Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear that things are on the upswing and you're figuring it out. My my goal is to find as many people who are kind of in your boat where they're making art
Yeah.
online, they're getting paid for it, and they don't really know what to do or where they're headed.
Yeah.
And so if
If
you
if
ever
you
want to,
find more people like
yeah,
that, send them my way because I would love more friends like that. It's a weird place to be, but it's a cool one.
it is a cool one. And I think so many of the folks I've interviewed so far, some of them feel like they're doing it alone, uh,
Yeah.
which is hard. So my hope
Hmm.
is by bringing them all together, they can at least talk.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can watch as many like podcast things and read as many cool interviews as you can find, but it does get kind of isolating sometimes when you're just like drawing in your room and sometimes you're like, what am I even doing? Where
Yeah,
is this going?
cool.
But
Well,
it's getting better. It's good.
power through it. Thanks again for coming onto the show. And
Yeah, thank you so much.
yeah, and I'm going to share this on YouTube and podcast if that works for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, perfect. Thanks again. I'm honored to talk to you, and hopefully we'll keep in touch if you have any questions or if I have any questions.
Yeah, for sure. Send them my way if you have any others.
Sounds good. All right, take it easy and enjoy Texas while you're there.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.